For 11 years, James, was married to a woman named Sarah. If you'd asked me just a few years back, I would have told you we had a strong marriage, a true partnership, a life we'd carefully constructed together. But I was wrong. Completely wrong. Sarah had it all mapped out. She believed she had everything perfectly arranged. She was preparing to walk away from me, probably expecting to claim half of everything I'd worked so hard to build. What she didn't anticipate was that I was already several moves ahead. Looking back, our relationship wasn't always troubled. In the beginning, Sarah was nurturing, loving, and genuinely proud to be my wife. I honestly believed we were deeply in love. But as time passed, something changed. The shift was barely perceptible at first. Small remarks here and there. You know, you could try dressing more professionally like Kevin from your office, she'd comment, glancing disapprovingly at my casual jeans and t-shirt. Or Jennifer's husband surprised her with a vacation to Italy. Can you imagine? Some men truly understand how to treat their wives. It was constantly someone else. Someone superior. Someone who wasn't me. Regardless of my efforts, they fell short of her expectations. When I worked late, I was ignoring her. When I came home early, I lacked drive. If I saved money, I was stingy. If I spent money, I was careless. I tolerated it though, not out of weakness, but for our son, Ethan. I wanted him to have a secure home, a complete family. I convinced myself that if I could just withstand it, our situation might improve. But then something shifted. Initially, it was minor. So minor, I hardly detected it. It happened one Saturday afternoon. I was in the living room, browsing through my phone when my son, Ethan, approached me with that familiar hopeful smile he always wore when about to ask for something. "Dad, can we get some candy?" His voice was cheerful, enthusiastic. I grinned and shook my head. "Buddy, you know candy isn't healthy all the time. Too much sugar." It was something I'd reminded him countless times before. Usually, he'd sulk or try to persuade me with some clever reasoning, but this time he just shrugged and replied, "Uncle Mark always gets me candy." Everything within me went still. I maintained a neutral expression and forced a laugh. "Oh yeah? Who's Uncle Mark?" Ethan didn't hesitate. "Mommy's friend. He comes over when you're at work or when you travel. He buys me candy and cookies." My grip on my phone tightened. A child Ethan's age doesn't fabricate things like that. Especially not with such casual honesty. In his mind, there was nothing improper about what he was saying. I forced a smile. "That's nice of him." Ethan nodded and hurried off to play. I just sat there frozen. Sarah had a friend who visited when I wasn't home. I didn't question her about it immediately. Instead, I did something more effective. I began observing her. That's when I noticed things I should have recognized earlier. She was leaving the house significantly more than usual. Always running errands, but somehow absent for hours. She'd claimed she was dropping by the store, but it never explained why she was gone so long. Activities with friends she'd never mentioned before started occurring more frequently. And whenever I asked simple questions, "Where did you go?" or "Why were you gone so long?" she'd become defensive as if I had no right to even inquire. Then there was her phone. Always silenced, always face down on the table, always with her, even in the bathroom. And if it rang while we were in the same room, she'd grab it quickly and walk away before answering. We never kept secrets before, but now it felt like she was concealing an entire life from me. Then there was her attitude. It was as if she had switched personalities. Every trivial thing I did aggravated her. She initiated arguments over the smallest matters, and I began noticing a pattern. These disputes always occurred right before she needed to get some air or had to step out. It was as if she was searching for a reason to exit the house. And the simplest way to accomplish that was by making me the villain. Initially, I told myself she was just overwhelmed. Maybe she was dealing with personal issues. But after what Ethan had mentioned, I couldn't dismiss the feeling that there was more to the situation. And suddenly all the warning signs I had disregarded before started making sense. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. I needed additional evidence. Several days passed and I continued watching. Waiting for something. Anything that would validate my suspicions. And then it happened. I had taken a day off from work to handle some errands. Just the typical stops at the bank, the dry cleaners, and the grocery store. That's when I encountered Thomas. An old friend from my college days. "James," he called out, clapping me on the shoulder. "Man, I haven't seen you in forever. How's life been treating you?" We caught up for a few minutes discussing work and family. Then unexpectedly, he said something that made my stomach churn. "Hey, by the way, I saw Sarah yesterday. She was entering that health clinic over on 5th Avenue. I was somewhat distant, so I didn't get to say hello. Everything all right?" I felt my entire body tense. I forced a brief laugh. "Oh yeah. She just went for a checkup or something." Thomas nodded. Cool. Just wanted to check. I managed a casual goodbye and walked away, but my thoughts were racing. Sarah went to a health clinic. Why? She never mentioned a doctor's appointment. And if it was merely a routine checkup, why not inform me? I felt that same uneasiness from before creep up my spine. Something was amiss. I waited. I remained attentive. 2 days later, Sarah told me she had some errands to run. Just some quick things to take care of, she said, grabbing her purse. I smiled and nodded, but I didn't believe her, so I decided to go into work later than usual and followed her instead. And guess where she went? The identical health clinic. I parked across the street, my hands gripping the wheel, watching as she walked inside. A million thoughts raced through my mind. Was she ill? Did she have something serious? Was she hiding a medical condition, or was it something else entirely? I waited. She remained inside for nearly an hour before finally exiting. She didn't appear sick. She didn't look concerned. She simply walked back to her car and drove home as if nothing unusual had occurred. That evening when I got home, I asked her casually, "So how was your day?" She told me she had gone shopping. Grabbed lunch. Nothing significant, but she didn't mention the clinic. I felt something cold settle in my chest. That was the moment I knew she was concealing something. And I didn't have to wait long to discover what. Later that night, after Sarah went to take a shower, I did something I had never done before. I searched her purse. I knew it was wrong. I knew that if I was at the point where I had to investigate my own wife secretly, then things were already damaged beyond repair. But at that moment, I didn't care. I had to know. My hands were slightly unsteady as I unzipped the bag, my pulse thudding in my ears. I sifted through the usual clutter, receipts, lipstick, a pack of gum, items I had seen innumerable times before. Nothing unusual. For a brief second, I thought perhaps I had allowed my paranoia to overwhelm me. And then I saw it. A receipt for an STD test. My breath caught in my throat. I stared at it. My hands numb. My mind raced, trying to comprehend what I was examining. Why would she need this? We hadn't been intimate in months. There was only one explanation. I swallowed hard, my stomach twisting into knots. Every suspicion, every warning sign, every uncomfortable feeling I had suppressed over the past few weeks. It all crashed down on me simultaneously. She was being unfaithful to me. I forced myself to take slow, deep breaths, willing the rising anger inside me to remain controlled. I couldn't react now. Not yet. I carefully returned everything exactly as I had found it, ensuring there were no indications that I had even touched her belongings. Then I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the floor, my mind still reeling. The doubt was gone. I knew, but now I needed proof. The next morning, I made a call. I contacted a private investigator. It took 3 days before he got back to me. 3 long, agonizing days where I had to pretend nothing had changed. Where I had to look Sarah in the eye and act as if I wasn't already planning my next move. And when he finally returned with his findings, it confirmed everything. Sarah wasn't just cheating, she was brazen about it. The investigator sent me photos. Clear, undeniable evidence. Sarah and some guy kissing in a parking lot, holding hands, getting into his car. Then the final piece of proof. A video of them walking into his house together. I felt sick. This wasn't some one-time mistake. This was an affair, and it had been ongoing for a while. Still, I didn't confront her. Not yet. There was one more thing I needed to do first. I went to a lawyer. I needed to protect myself. My assets, and most importantly, Ethan. I wasn't about to let Sarah destroy everything I had built while she was involved with another man. I made my move, securing my finances and preparing for what was coming next. A few nights later, after yet another meaningless argument, the moment I had been anticipating finally arrived. Sarah folded her arms, her voice sharp with frustration. I want a divorce. She stood before me, arms crossed, her chin raised as if she was waiting for me to plead or panic. But I didn't. I just smiled and said okay. For the first time in years, I saw her expression falter. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes narrowing as if she wasn't sure she had heard me correctly. She blinked. That's it? I nodded. Yeah, if that's what you want. She hesitated, shifting her weight slightly, her confidence wavering. She had expected resistance. A back and forth, maybe even an argument about money. She probably thought I'd beg her, demand to know why. Ask her to reconsider. But what she didn't know was that I had already prepared for this moment before she even contemplated leaving me. The next morning, before she could bring up dividing assets, my lawyer sent her the divorce papers. She was still in her robe when the envelope landed on the kitchen table with a soft thud. I stood by the coffee machine, my hand steady as I poured myself a cup, pretending to be indifferent. I could hear the faint rustling of paper as she tore it open, her eyes scanning the pages. The more she read, the more her expression transformed. The arrogance vanished first, then confusion emerged, and finally realization struck her like a thunderbolt. She wasn't getting alimony. She had no claim to half of my assets. I took a slow sip of my coffee, watching as she finally looked up at me. Her face pale. "James, what is this?" I set my cup down and met her gaze without hesitation. "It's the divorce you wanted." Her mouth opened, then closed, as if searching for the right words, but coming up empty for the first time in ages. She was speechless. I wish I could say she handled it with dignity, but she didn't. Initially, she acted like it didn't affect her, pretending this was all part of her plan. But when reality sank in, her confidence crumbled. I had secured all my assets. The accounts were legally under Ethan's name, structured as college savings and inheritance funds. Untouchable. The house wasn't in her name either. As far as the court was concerned, she had nothing left to claim. That's when the panic set in. She stormed into the bedroom that evening, clutching the papers in her hands. "You're screwing me over." I remained calm. "No. I'm just protecting myself." Her face flushed. "I gave you years of my life, and you're going to leave me with nothing." I raised an eyebrow. "You gave me years? Interesting. You seemed pretty occupied giving someone else your time too." She flinched. She knew that I knew, and now there was no more pretending. She threw the papers down. "You hired a PI, didn't you?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. Her hands clenched into fists. "You set me up." I laughed. "I didn't set you up, Sarah. You did that all by yourself." She glared at me. "You're going to regret this." I smiled. "I doubt it." After several months of legal battles, the final hearing arrived. Sarah entered the courtroom with her typical confidence, still behaving as if she possessed some control. She probably thought she'd discover a loophole, some method to manipulate the system and depart with something, but there was nothing left to take. The private investigator had conducted a thorough job. The evidence was irrefutable. Photos, timestamps, even the clinic visit. There was no arguing her way out of this. But what sealed it wasn't just the affair. It was her neglect of Ethan. I presented everything before the court the night she left him home alone. The occasions she didn't return until hours past bedtime. The way she had prioritized her affair over her own child repeatedly. And then, just when I thought circumstances couldn't deteriorate further for her, my lawyer revealed one final piece of evidence. The STD test results. Sarah had tested positive. The same test I had discovered in her purse. The one that made my stomach drop was now sitting before the judge. It was incontestable proof of what she had been doing. I didn't need to say anything. The expression on her face revealed everything. She never anticipated it would emerge in court, but it did. When the ruling was announced, I barely reacted. Full custody was awarded to me. No weekends, no shared parenting, no alternating arrangements. Sarah sat there, motionless as the weight of it descended upon her. She had lost. She wasn't walking away with a settlement. She wasn't walking away with her son. She was walking away alone. I wish I could say she learned her lesson, but she didn't. Initially, she acted like it didn't trouble her. But then when reality set in, she began calling, sending lengthy messages about how we had so many wonderful years together. How she made a mistake. How Ethan needed both of us. But where was the concern for Ethan when she was sneaking around? Where was all that remorse when she was lying directly to my face? I ignored her. She attempted everything. Guilt, fake regret, even blaming me for not fighting for our marriage. But you can't fight for something the other person has already set ablaze. She wasn't sorry for her actions. She was sorry she got caught. And even sorrier that I didn't permit her to walk away with the life she believed she deserved. Now I'm free. Legally. Mentally. Emotionally. Financially. I can finally focus on my son, on my future. On a life where I no longer have to tread carefully. Or wonder what deception I'm being told today. Sarah never loved me. She loved what I could provide her. And when she thought she could discard me and depart with half my life, she discovered the hard way that I was already 10 steps ahead. Thank you for watching.